Good afternoon. It is 4:06 on AM 1100 The Flag and AM 1100.TV, the Flood Channel. Paul Bougie sitting in the chair this afternoon, and I just wanted to let you know that the National Weather Service has issued a new flood prediction crest. A new flood prediction crest is out, and we are going to talk about that right now. On the phone with us this afternoon on AM 1100 is Mark Ewens. He's the data manager at the Grand Forks office of the National Weather Service. Mark, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Well, brand new crest prediction is out. What does your statement officially say?
Well, right now the preliminary outlook in the middle of April with no additional rainfall brings the river up to around 38 to 40 feet. And that is with no rain. If we get any rain, it's going to go higher. So the term crest can be a little misleading because that presumes that we don't get anything falling between now or near the time of the crest. If we get any rain of significance around the time, it's going to go higher.
All right. Well, obviously, this is down from when the crest prediction that you came. I know you. I don't want to use the prediction you came out with on Friday that had it somewhere up around 40 to 41 feet, possibly 42.
Well, and that's where the confusion comes in because the Weather Service only issue forecasts out through 7 days, specific forecasts. Beyond 7 days, they're still in the realm of the probability, kind of the, for lack of a better term, best guess, best scientific guess, but still a best guess. So if we had absolutely no precipitation between now and the middle of the month, and the melt goes as flawlessly as we can expect with below freezing temperatures at night, above freezing temperatures during the day, right now the best scientific guess is for the river to get up in that 38 to 40-foot range. The statement that was issued on Friday assumes that we would be getting additional precipitation. So that's where the confusion starts to come in. We certainly don't want to have people lowering their guard thinking it's over with. We're a long way from that. Got to remind folks what just happened not even a month ago. We had moderate to heavy rainfalls on a snow melt, and look at how fast the river came up. That is still a very real possibility.
So now, basically, then, what changed between Friday and today?
Nothing. Nothing really. Nothing really has changed. The probabilistic outlooks that were a part of the issue and statements that came out on Friday were, again, probabilistic, based on precipitation, normal precipitation. The statement that came out today has no precipitation in it. So if we were to start putting rainfall on top of the existing snowpack as it melts, the value that's in that statement now will go up and will probably be reflected closer to what was in Friday's statement. This is a problem for us to try to merge what we call the deterministic, that is the 7-day forecast, that is a solid number, versus the probabilistic that gives a range, because this is, quite frankly, it will be a moving target. I need to be way up front with that. To give a specific crest value at this stage of the game is not at all possible. We can do the scientifically best we can with what we know about the weather conditions and the river conditions today. They will change tomorrow. It's the nature of the science.
Now, isn't it pretty much a given that we're probably going to get rain in April?
Especially with the pattern we've been in. That's the big concern. We're in a very fortunate lull right now, which is helping us out. We had that fairly significant rain event there at the end of March that put us in the condition we're in. But that water is still there, obviously. A lot of it then fell as snow, and we've had additional snow since then. We had that relatively large snowstorm right at the end of the month, so that snow hasn't moved yet. Yes, that's been taken into consideration, a part of the current outlook on the 16th to 18th time frame. But if something unforeseen happens, for example, a very rapid warm-up, and then get the rain on top of it, then we're into that probabilistic realm where we start talking about 41 feet or better.
Okay,
so
now
we're in that transition period. This is difficult to explain. So,
based on the as you said, educated guess in some aspects, in the near future, in outside that 7 days, let's try for 14 days. Obviously, do you anticipate any precipitation?
Beyond that, the computer models are indicating that there will be a storm system that's currently a long ways off, and we're going to have plenty of time to watch it. But yes, there are indications within the computer models that we use and some of the other climate signals that we look at that there is a storm system that in about 10 to 14 days will be coming into the United States. Where it's going to go, if we're fortunate, it will go south of us and leave us alone. If we're unfortunate and it comes north, as many of the storms have done this past winter and spring, it's going to produce rain across the basin when we're seeing these high water values from the snowmelt.
Okay, with the snow melt, and it keeps going, and then the prediction and the snow, how fast does the snow have to melt? I'm trying to phrase this right. How big is the fast speed of the snow melt to keep this prediction that you've just come out with today intact?
If we had an ideal melt like we've been seeing so far, with above freezing temperatures during the day, below freezing at night, and got absolutely no precipitation between now and the time that all the snow was gone off the ground, all the water that froze in place after the late March storm, once that all happened and got into the river system, no rain for the next 30 days, that's kind of your best case scenario. And actually, that's within the probabilistic outlooks, because if you look at those outlooks that were issued, the lower probabilities, the ones that are down less than down in the 95% realm, are showing Fargo getting up to 38 feet, somewhere in that range. The 40%, the 90% level, which is kind of the lowest that's in the table, starts at 40 feet. And again, that's right in that range of what we're talking about now. So here's our problem, is trying to merge these two different techniques of a forecast and an outlook together. And that's the difficult part, because we want to make sure that we're telling folks there's still a tremendous amount of uncertainty, especially with the weather.
I was kind of how hard is it to pinpoint this? How far out? Obviously, it's difficult because you've got so many factors in there. You've got the meteorological factor, and you've got the hydrologic factor.
Yes.
That factor into all this. So how difficult is it to pinpoint this?
Well, okay, I've been doing this job 35 years, and I know it's difficult sometimes to forecast the weather 24 hours in advance. Things come along and surprise us. I think anybody who's been doing the job, or if you're just an average user of weather information, you know that. There are times that we just have a difficult time with tomorrow. The science has improved dramatically. We've gotten a lot better, so the ability to make a reasonable 7-day forecast has gotten better. But then beyond that, the skill is still pretty iffy. The rate of the melt, how fast it melts, how much rain, if any, falls on top of it. Or let's talk about even later. Since 1950, there have been 5 years with double crests. And the second crest has always been higher, and it's been in May.
Okay.
There's a lot of different scenarios that can come to play that historically have happened. 1950, that was the flood of record for many places, and even in one or two places within the Red River Valley, 1950 is still the flood of record. The big crest, the higher crest, was the second one, and it was in May.
All right.
So May the 12th here in Grand Forks.
Okay. Mark Ewens, data manager with the Grand Forks office of the National Weather Service. Mark, what would you like to say to those that maybe said you were being overcautious on that prediction on Friday?
Well, I'll tell you what. I have been on both ends of that scale. In '97, there were some that said we were overcautious, that they didn't understand the outlook values versus the forecasts, and a lot of us lost our homes and had to rebuild. And personally, this is just my opinion, if I had my druthers, I'd rather spend too much money protecting myself against something that doesn't happen than not enough and have to rebuild everything from scratch. Been there, done that. It's not fun.
Okay, what would you? Another question that just came in here to the email in the studio here. What would you say to people upset with the yo-yo of the it's going to be bad? Well, okay, it's not going to be as bad, but it obviously messing with people's lives. Should we just bottom line prepare for the worst?
Well, that's what I've told my kids. The key in life is to know when to panic. You have to be appropriate about what kind of risks that you want to take in life. What do you expect? What are you expecting to lose, and how much are you willing to lose? If meteorology were a perfect science, you'd have no need for anybody. TV meteorologists, us, anybody. We could all just look out the window and do it. If river forecasting were easy, again, there'd be no need for hydrologists or any of us. And there are days I'd like to just go home and not have to worry about this anymore.
I completely understand. Mark, can you take a call this afternoon here?
Well, of course I can.
All right, Dave, go ahead. You're on with Mark.
Yeah, hi, Mark. How you doing?
Fine, Dave. How are you?
Good. I know you had said the prediction was at 38 feet, and we're expecting rain this weekend. Can you equate, if we get 1 inch of rain, how much that raises the crest? Is it a 1 inch equals 1 foot, or 2 inches equals 2 foot, or?
That's a really good question, and it goes back to where the rain falls. So, for example, if 1 inch of rain fell across the southern Red River Valley, similar to where the snowstorm that occurred early in the month, late in March did, if it fell across the Colfax, Wahpeton area on up towards Barnesville, where you got all the water into kind of the basin where the main rivers are drawing into the Red, that would be a bad place for it. If the 1 inch fell downstream of Fargo, it's bad. If it fell downstream of Fargo, say up towards Hallstatt, then it would be bad for Grand Forks. If it's a widespread 1 inch that covers the entire Red River Valley, that'd be bad for everybody. But if it's an isolated amount, and that's with showers and thunderstorms, which is the time of the year we're starting to get into, where we have to start becoming concerned about the threat for showers and thunderstorms as much as we do general rain. Rain, just general widespread rain, is more common in April, but we've had some pretty healthy thunderstorms in April as well. So it all depends on where it falls.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks for the call, Dave. Mark Ewens, Data Manager, Grand Forks Office of the National Weather Service. Once again, to get everybody caught up, what is your new prediction that just came out from the National Weather Service on the possible crest of the Red River here in Fargo-Moorhead?
Okay, the current forecast as it stands, with no additional precipitation for the Fargo area, calls for a potential crest in the 38 to 40 foot realm, somewhere in the, I believe it's the 16th to 18th. I'm calling up to make sure I got the right dates. And again, that would be with no rainfall over the next 2 weeks.
All right.
And an absolutely perfect melt.
An absolute perfect melt. And right now, looking at the forecast, it looks like we've kind of got that ideal situation, at least through with the possibility of some rain on Sunday, right?
Right. The immediate future is looking pretty good. We're happy with the way things are going. Again, we've had the ideal melt conditions with the freezing temperatures at night, above freezing during the day, kind of getting things down. I even noticed here in Grand Forks that the frost is starting to come out of the ground because the streets are weeping, so we're seeing actually a little bit of thawing developing up top. That's good. That would help with some percolation. The downside is the soil is still saturated, so we're really not going to get a lot of water going into the ground just yet because it's still really, really wet. But the conditions are perfect. But this is North Dakota, and it's April. If you've lived here long enough, you know how quickly the weather can turn on you.
Yeah, if you're waiting for the weather to change, just turn your back for a second. Another couple questions here real fast, and we'll let you go because I know it's getting close to clocking out for you guys to at least go home and hang with family. The mayor is concerned a little bit about the Cheyenne. How much of that is an issue for this crest prediction?
That is a huge issue. While we've obviously gotten rid of a lot of the snow from the winter initially until, of course, this other snowstorm came along, we had gotten rid of a lot of the snow in the southern Red River Basin south of Fargo. The Cheyenne Basin, which is a significant contributor to the Red River, is still chock full and in the middle of winter. Really haven't started to melt the snow yet. Looking at the Bald Hill Dam, the water that's come into Bald Hill Dam is tremendous, and there's even much more to come. So that's a huge concern for the Fargo area in that it causes what's called a backwater effect, and you also have breakouts where the water can literally get out of the Cheyenne Basin and get into the Red by going overland. That just recently happened, so huge concern for us.
All right, and last but not least, do you think the cities are still prudent to continue protection to 44 feet?
Well, that's obviously a decision that you have to leave up to the folks who are running this. I know personally some of the people involved in it. I've been here in the Red River Valley for 30 years. I've worked with a lot of these people in the past. You can't ask for a better flood-fighting crew than is in place right now. The folks know what they're doing. And again, from just my personal standpoint, I'd rather be overprotected than underprotected. Been there, done that, and the T-shirt didn't help.
I agree with you 100%. So bottom line, still keep a high level of vigilance, but this is good news, but still not at below 18 feet and back in the banks yet.
Well, precisely. It's encouraging. It's encouraging that the preliminary numbers with no precipitation, if we can continue an ideal melt through the next couple of weeks with no rain, It's encouraging, but again, this is North Dakota in April, and man, I'd hate to see it turn on us in a hurry, but if you've lived here a while, you know how it goes.
Exactly. Mark, when can we expect your next forecast on the river levels?
Well, they'll do an evening update. It probably will not have much of a change. We'll have an evening update. However, the next big change will be tomorrow around noontime. We'll be doing that daily. We're continuously in contact with the Corps of Engineers, the GS, the other agencies who are taking data for us. We're looking at everything ourselves. So every day we'll be putting out updated and looking at the weather forecast, too, doing updates based on that.
All right, Mark Ewens, Data Manager at the Grand Forks office of the National Weather Service. Mark, thank you very much for your time, and I'm sure we're definitely going to be talking to a lot more of you before this is all said and done.
Anytime. That's what we're here for, and appreciate the fact of you helping us to get the word out. I mean, we're all in this together.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Mark Ewens, Data Manager at the Grand Forks office of the National Weather Service here on AM 1100 The Flag. Remember, for complete flood information 24/7, go to am1100.tv and check out the Flood Channel. We now rejoin Sean Hannity on AM 1100 The Flag.